All right, welcome guys to PBHS Week 10. It's been a crazy week. So many close games, and there's a lot to talk about for Week 10. And we're gonna start off with by introducing me. I'm Rashab. We got Anga, we got Mr. Woodward, and we got Mr. Ellis. To start off with my Ravens for Week 9, never count Lamar Jackson out. Like the narrative that he can't come back is fully scratched off the list for the narratives people have, and you can't count out the best kicker of all time hitting the game winner in overtime. But this game, I felt like our run game's starting to pick up more, as I mentioned in the previous episode. Devontae Freeman having a season high of 79 yards, and Bell starting to produce with a touchdown on some very crucial runs late in the game. Um, I also want to take note of our wide receivers. Hollywood recorded 119 yards off of 9 catches, while Rashad Bateman already being an X factor, being a complete chain mover. And, this revamped passing game has proven to work so well. I love how it's forming. But this defense still needs to play better. From what I believe, this unit adjusted well in the game later on in the game, but still keeping the mindset of bend, don't break.
As for my amazing Washington football team, we had a great bye week, as Rashad said last week for his Ravens, but not that great. Montez Sweat has a broken jaw. I don't know how when that happened. We lose him for another 2 weeks. This team just keeps getting more injuries and injuries out of nowhere. Chase really fractured his leg. There goes our starting center. But thankfully, this rest week, we hopefully we get Samuel Cosme back and Brandon Sheriff, both big X factors on our right side of the line. Cosme was having a great rookie season before he got hurt. Hopefully, these additions back to our line gets our running game going again, and hopefully pick some momentum this week against the Bucks.
I'll say that Tom has had many great lines this season. Definitely many better lines than we've had good performances this season. That's for sure. But man, when he came into the presser and just like, oh, had him all the way, right, guys? I was like, man, I mean, literally, my father texted me that 5 minutes earlier. That was his text, and I'm like, yep, that pretty much describes it. I mean, Tom is the ultimate yinzer that yinzers don't want to accept, and I'm trying hard to understand why. When the man is officially past Bill Cowher now, all time in Steeler wins, and Cowher's response was legendary to boot, where he said, Pittsburgh fans, yeah, you think that's impressive. Just wait till he goes ahead and conquers Noel, which is coming soon. It really is. It's only 20 plus away. And I just hope we can get a sticky Lombardi attached to, in between there or right after it or something just to shut some of these idiots up. But at the end of the day, just glad to have that man on our sidelines and just glad to have the heart of this team. We stink. I mean, there's no question about it. No joking here. Nobody's creating any illusions. On God, sorry, your masterful prediction from last year when we were about 7-0, saying we're going to completely collapse. It was awesomely on. Most didn't agree with. Ain't no way you're getting away with saying that this year because nobody's buying it. Okay, we're already convinced that we stink, so it is what it is. But the best news of all is, like Bill Parcells says, man, you are what your record says you are, and we are dang happy to be 5-3. We're going to be slap happy to be 6-3 if we can. So let's keep everybody's heart intact for at least one more week before we got to travel out west.
Bringing up all those old names makes me think of Al Davis. Just win, baby. I mean, that's all it takes. You win the last game of the year, you're champions. Nobody gives a hoot what your record was going into the playoffs. So I hear you, man. And that's where my Patriots are. I definitely think that last week was just another sign of doing what you need to do, rounding into form. We've been talking about it all year. And I love what they did against Carolina. Like I said, they had a strong, fast defense, and they put the pressure on them early. Mac Jones turned the ball over, but the defense again came to play. J.C. Jackson, who has led the NFL in interceptions since I think 2018 or 2019, man, he is. You got to be thrown at too. I mean, I don't think Dion ever led the NFL in interceptions because nobody would throw the ball his side of the field. They had to go find it. But that being said, when they do throw it over there, if you pick it twice in a game, take one of them to the house, you're doing things right. I do want to know one thing, Rashad. I didn't know Adam Vinatieri came out of retirement. You said that the best kicker in NFL history hit a kick last week, so I didn't know that. But I mean, I can see that he's still got some good years in him. Justin Tucker could learn a few things.
Yeah, man. I mean, Adam Vinatieri is great. And also in recent news, speaking of the Carolina Panthers, they just signed Cam Newton back, the former Patriots QB. But getting into our first game for the night, we have the Ravens at Dolphins, Thursday night game. Ravens are favored by 7.5, and the line is 46.5. Um, Ravens have being heavily favored in this matchup isn't a big eye opener. The Dolphins have struggled all season as well as this, and this Ravens should win comfortably. And as games done in the past, they've known to be, playing down to their competition, but they need to be on top of their game today. And I think today will be one of the first instances where we'll get a really comfortable win. And I think a good fast start on offense will be enough to secure this W. Ravens 30, Dolphins 13.
Yeah, as Rashad said, the Ravens just have a tendency of playing down to their competition, like the games against the Colts, games versus the Lions. They shouldn't have been close. I believe the teams they played deserve to win those. But this week, this is a good game for the Ravens to show that they stop playing down to the competition. Lamar's going home. We always know those South Florida boys turn up when they go home. And I think the line and edge for this game is a bit too off. I feel like Ravens are going to win this by more than 8 points, and it's going to go over 46.5. Give me the Ravens winning this 42-10.
Well, here we go. The hilarious debacle that's going to occur tonight down south. And, you can only dig deep enough to think about this stadium that has had more names than the Cleveland Clowns have had quarterbacks in the last 20 some years, right? But at the end of the day, it's like this, man. Everybody's talking about that news sound funny because it's a Thursday night, but it's still BOC to me, man. And I'm looking at 50 Baltimore, 17 for the Dolphins. 50 better gonna happen in the night.
You have predicted 50 a number of times this year. I'm not sure if any of them have come to fruition yet, but
that's the whole reason I predict them.
I think you're on the right track here. I don't have the number quite as high, but I am BOC in this one as well. So I think we're all seeing that this game's over before it even starts. If I'm Miami, I'm praying for rain. I think they got about a 10% chance of storms coming through there, and I am praying for rain. That's about the only thing that's going to slow the Ravens down. Rashad, as you mentioned, Bateman. I think he's going to be an X factor because you get a guy who can move the chains like that, and it can happen. The fact that they have two, by running back standards, ancient guys back there, you got to find other people to move the ball for you too. And so he adds to what's already a pretty good offense. And, I love Brian Flores and his defense in New England, but that has not translated to South Beach. And whether it's Joe Robbie or whatever that stadium is called now, it's definitely going to be a place that is going to be rocking in the Ravens' favor. 59-10 was the last score here with Lamar 5 touchdown passes. I don't know how they're going to put the points on the board tonight, but it's going to be a lot of them. Not that many. I see this 41-10 Ravens.
Mr. Woower predicting a Jackson 5. I love to hear it. Okay.
I will say though, guys, look, the Ravens do need to start games better. I think they've been fortunate that they've started slow against some really not so great to average football teams, the Colts, the Vikes, games. And then of course, against Detroit, just having the brown out in the second half where they just completely, cramped it. They just didn't have the offense. So I will say that as good as they've been in that record, I do think the slow starts could bite them against a good team. So got to come out strong in this. And if I'm a Ravens fan, that's all I need to see tonight. I need to see a quick start, a couple quick scores. I'm like, hey, put everybody on the bench and keep everybody safe.
Yes, sir. Right. Well said. All right. For the next game of the show, we got the the Browns versus the Patriots.
You said it right the first time.
Cleveland or New England is favored by 1.5 and the line is 45.5. Baker and his crew arrived at Foxborough with the playoff race starting to kick off for both of these teams. Like, you gotta wonder what the Sith Lord Bill Belichick is gonna come up with against the Browns. It seems like whenever OBJ leaves or is not even playing, Baker just becomes he becomes like a top tier quarterback. Like he starts playing out of his mind when OBJ is not playing. But with Nick Chubb most likely being out due to COVID and Baker being limited in practice, it can be tough sledding for this Cleveland team on the road in New England, but New England will take it 23-16.
In my opinion, I feel like this game's going to be a defensive battle. I know the Browns are coming off a 41-16 win against the Bengals. My condolences, Mr. Hawley. We may have jinxed you. But I believe Baker just isn't consistent. And Bill Belichick is going to catch him off guard. The Browns they seem like a cocky team. They get a good win. They think they're above everyone. Oh, we're Super Bowl contenders. And then they just trip up. And going to a game with too much ego, I would not want to go into a game like that against Bill Belichick. He'll pitch you in your spot real quick with his plans. And Honestly, Mac Jones has been playing amazingly too in this Bill Belichick system. I know I was not a big fan of his, but as I keep saying, they keep getting better and better. And also, Mr. Woodward said J.C. Jackson, he just keeps performing, keeps getting interceptions. And against a quarterback who likes taking risks like Baker Mayfield, I think J.C. Jackson might be in for another game for pair of picks. I have the Patriots winning this game 28-20.
Tough game to pick here, especially because both teams come off some momentum from last week. But I got to go with the team that I still think is a little more dependable up front on both sides of the ball. And I think they're still getting a little run off this OBJ departure. I just feel like Cleveland's a little bit better. I do. And it's going to be close, but I think the Clowns hang on and win this game 24-23. And biggest reason I think is they can control the ball right now a little bit better than New England can. I do think Mac is getting better at managing and running the game, but I just think, man, when you can slam the ball up in there, they're going to find a way. And when you can prove that you're third string running back and go on Thursday Night Football and show up with 125 plus and some decent gains against the defense that is pretty similar in terms of overall results. I'll say at the end of the day, this is going to be an edge out for Cleveland, even though I don't want them to win 24-23.
Yeah, this is a tough game to pick. They definitely two teams that are playing well right now, and that you're right. We did jinx Mr. Hawley last week. I mean, they got smoked. The Browns just absolutely smoked them. And first off, for you AFC North people, could anybody be better named on Cleveland than Jadeveon Clowney? I mean, my man was built for that. Unfortunately, he's no clown, and neither is Myles Garrett. And those two scare me coming off the edge because the Patriots' tackles are atrocious. And so that's a scary thing. Mac's going to take some hits. There's no doubt about it. Myles Garrett especially is going to get his, but he has shown Mac Jones that he can take a hit and get back up. I have seen him take some shots this year. The Cowboys absolutely lit him up a few times, but the Patriots are definitely rounded into form. But one thing that's been a problem for them, and this is quite the counter to the Boston Bruins, who play Edmonton tonight, by the way. Last week, Patrice Bergeron, just so you know, finished with 4 goals. He started with 1 when we started. He finished with 4. The Bruins are undefeated at home, but the Patriots are stinking at home. They have yet to really play a strong home game against a challenging team, a team that they need to play well at home and beat. It didn't happen against Dallas. It didn't happen against Tampa. They just haven't been able to put it together in the Saints, and they got run on against the Saints and the Cowboys. So Nick Chubb scares me if he's able to play. Talked to Mr. Smith about it yesterday, and I said, hey, I don't want to talk to you, Mr. Smith, unless you're going to tell me Nick Chubb's not playing. And he said, yeah, but keep in mind, it's the offensive line. As an offensive line coach, Mr. Smith wanted to point out, as Mr. Ellis just said, the line play is going to be key in this. Now, that being said, I'm going. I'm a home. I got to go Pats in this one in a tight matchup, covering 23-21.
Interesting. Okay, so for our next game, we got the Washington football team versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay has a heavy 9.5 favorite, and the line being 51.5. But it's a rematch of the last year's NFC wildcard game, and Brady and his company returned to FedEx Field. Tampa Bay is coming off a bye week, and knowing Brady coming off that bad of a loss, he makes sure he won't happen again because Tom Brady. And while both teams are injured offensively, I just believe the Bucs have more depth offensively and just like a better roster overall than the Washington football team as of now. Bucs will have no problem handling the Washington football team. 34-20 Bucs.
Yippity yappity, better defense, better roster. You can take those predictions to the hills like OBJ did, chasing a ring. My Washington football team, our defense is getting better. This matchup last year in the playoffs is what was a catalyst for my false hopes this year. The magic of Heine Goat. I was crying in my living room for 2 hours. I was like, dang, this team showed fight. I have not seen a team with fight since 2012 with RG3. But with the injuries and everything, I think we'll fight through. Our defense is coming together. You guys may think it's a pipe dream or I'm just saying some crazy stuff. Our defense is coming together. Trust me. We went from being abysmal to like maybe C to D grade. Progress is progress. Okay. I've learned that. As you can see with the teams on my wall, any progress is progress at all. And we will accept it. I think we're probably going to get busted. Okay. I'll stop lying. but not by 9 points. I have us losing this game 27-20. And another bold prediction: Heineke 2 rushing touchdowns, and we might even win it. Who knows? If we win it, I won't complain. But Heineke go.
I think you guys might have some offensive success early in this game. I do. This Tampa defense is not that good. I've been saying it all year, and I still believe it. Right? I mean, the trip to New Orleans is evidence. A team can control the ball against him. That's how you beat Tom Brady. Of the few times in my life the Steelers have beaten Tom Brady, I've never witnessed one live, by the way, seeing 4 losses. I think 2 AFC championship losses. But
who's counting?
yeah. Oh, I'm counting. I know, and I know you're counting too.
A little bit.
But oof, testing our rating system here. But with that stated, guys, I mean, this is we're completely off the point now. I don't know, fellas. I got to dig deep on this one, but I got to say 44-27. I think they're going to score a little bit early. Got to get it going. Got to get the fans excited, and then oblivion. So 44-27. I see the defense playing well early, but unfortunately, linebacker play comes to show again. And boy, the linebackers on Washington have to be the worst in the NFL. Not even close.
That sounds like an entertaining game, though. That's a lot of points. Maybe your boy Taylor Heineke can get a couple of rushing touchdowns if he doesn't get absolutely destroyed first. Although I will say, most exciting moment of the playoffs last year was when he made that dive to the pylon. That was amazing. I mean, I was way into that game myself. But I think that the football team is happy to see Tampa come in because they have that Taylor Heineke game. They have that great performance that they put together last year to kind of work off of. So it gives you some confidence. We match up well against these guys, that type of stuff. We gave them the best game they had in all the playoffs last year, including the Super Bowl. So that's good. But think about it this year. Opposing quarterbacks, I got the stat today, have a 107.6 rating against Washington this season, which is the second highest mark in the league. I don't know how those numbers are created or anything, but I can tell you that's the second highest in the league. And there's a guy running the show in Tampa that you guys may have heard of. His name's Tom Brady. And he's going to come in and he is going to shred that defense. And the Bucs need a win, honestly. And last year's playoff game, ultimately it was never really in doubt because that wasn't a game that Tom Brady was going to lose and Tampa wasn't going to lose because he was their quarterback. But it was exciting. And this one, maybe it'll be exciting too. I don't have the number quite as high, but I do know it's time for the quarterback situation in DC to get figured out. There's some good receivers on this team. There's some good linemen on this team. So let's get that together. And, maybe it starts with getting a good draft position, and this game will help that out. So I see Bucs in this one, 34-23.
Very, very good take, Mr. Woodward. Okay, so for the next game, we have Green Bay versus Seattle. Green Bay is favored by 3.5, and the line is 50. Looking at this game, Russell Wilson returns after a finger injury, and if this is going to be a crucial game for Seattle for obvious reasons, if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. With Aaron Rodgers still up in the air about his COVID situation, and Jordan Love being not like quite as ready as we thought. This could very well be a trap game for the Packers because without A-Rod, I mean, this team is they tend to struggle a lot. But I still do think that the Seattle wants to win this game. They get Chris Carson back, and depending on whether or not A-Rod is in, I think Seattle can pull off the upset 28-24.
A quick little jump back to what Mr. Woodward said. We need a quarterback. My belief for the rest of the season is triple C's: Cool, Calm, and Matt Corral. We need that man in our offense. But looking forward to this Green Bay versus Seattle game. It's old man Rodgers versus Russ. My man Aaron Rodgers got Pfizer without the P, and Russ is coming back from a really bad finger injury. Honestly, this game just hinges on Aaron Rodgers. Like, this offense, I saw a statistic. It was without Aaron Rodgers and all the games the Packers have played without him, they average around 13 points a game, which is worse than the 0-16 Lions and 0-16 Browns. So that just shows how lackluster this team is without Aaron Rodgers. He is that X factor. You can put as many names as you want. You could throw in Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Lazard, MVZ, and heck, you could have even added OBJ if you wanted to. That wouldn't have changed what this team is without Aaron Rodgers. They're just incomplete without their quarterback. So if Rodgers plays, give me this game 31-17 for Green Bay. But if Rodgers doesn't play, I have this being 21-10. So I'm going on the side of leniency, or not leniency, but safety. I don't think Rodgers is going to play. So 21-10 Seahawks.
No, if you're a Packers fan, you have to say to yourself, boy, my season is not going the way I thought it was going to go after we had that massive win in Arizona. And man, it's something that really could have been avoided, guys, too. But that said, I'm looking at it like this. If I'm guys on the other side of that ball, I'm saying to myself, 12 looks like a piece of fresh meat. And I'm coming for him if he's playing. Right? Because that's what I'd be saying if I were on that side. But I'm not, but if I were. But I do think that Seattle's going to win this game because they need it more. And we're getting to that point in the season. We talk about this all the time, guys. You have those need it more kind of games. And I would agree with that point about Tampa really needing a convincing performance here because they have actually quietly struggled the last couple of games, right? But this isn't going to be a struggle at all. I think Seattle's going to come in here and play a lot better. And I think even if Rodgers is back, I think the offense is going to be a little disjointed. It's going to take him some time to come back because he's actually dealt with a lot of mental adversity, which he can pretend isn't going to matter, but it is going to matter. And I do think it will factor in here. I think Seattle wins this game 28-23 in an upset. And if Rodgers doesn't play, well, it doesn't matter because I think either way, Seattle's going to find a way to win this game. And it might not be pretty, but they'll get it done. And they're kind of like the Steelers of the NFC. They've just had maybe a slightly more bad breaks, but I think there's very similar kind of teams as was evidenced by when we played them a few weeks ago. So they're sort of the NFC version of us, just not as fortunate with the schedule, but I think they get this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could definitely see the comparison, but their defense isn't as good as the Steeler defense, or I think they probably would have been able to turn a couple of those other games around. It's too bad that this isn't a Russ versus Rodgers matchup because those guys are great. They play their position so well. And as maddening as what's going on with Aaron Rodgers is to me, it's meant a lot of highlights of Aaron Rodgers as they're letting him talk in the background and running stuff. And that dude can play football, man. He can just the flick of the wrist throws that he does, man. Kyler Murray does a little bit of that stuff too, kind of the no-look stuff. But I don't know. I don't see anything right now that talks about him being out there. And Jordan Love was bad last week. And they were against Kansas City's defense, which is not good. But, you put a little pressure on a new quarterback, and I'm sure that's what Kansas City did, and he's going to struggle. And that's definitely what Seattle's going to do. So, if it's a straight up Russ versus Rodgers game and they hadn't had any of this foolishness and, Russ hadn't broken his finger and Rodgers wasn't, in the situation he's in, I think it'd be a great football game and it would be tight and it'd be a bit of a toss up, but I think with the home team would win it. But right now it looks like Russell Wilson's going to play. And if he plays, the better quarterback is going to win this game, and they are a little more desperate. They need this win more. And if Aaron Rodgers does play, I think Mr. Ellis makes a great point. There's definitely got to be some mental strain on him that he hasn't, been able to really process yet because it's been an interesting week for sure. And there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of people probably on the other side that think it's great. But I mean, that's being pulled in a lot of directions. So I don't see him out there. So I don't know anything about whether he's going to play or not, but I do think Russell Wilson's going to play. And that should definitely give the Hawks a shot. So here's for AJ and the crew, Seahawks 27, Pack 21.
I will say too, let's see how Rodgers plays the rest of the season with this on him too. Right? Because he's never really been in this position because, a lot of fans were really behind him in the offseason, with the contract negotiations. I mean, the guys they didn't sign, things like that. And his awesome press conference in the summer, it was really on point. But let's see how he responds now when, he's never really been in an environment where fans have been negative. Like even you look at Roethlisberger, even Brady at the end of his career in New England, like the negativity, like Rodgers has been immune from that negativity in Green Bay for his entire career. Despite honestly blowing a lot of playoff games and losing some big ones at home, right? So he's dodged a lot of bullets, man. And so there are people who are now putting this on that ledger. They're starting to think different about it. I'm telling you, there's a different hunger, I think, going to be going against him. Not just from fans, but I think from players too. Because, everybody's made sacrifices in these last 2 years. But even those who didn't make those certain sacrifices, at least were straight about it.
That Jeopardy gig's looking better and better.
Okay,
My love would be in jeopardy if I were a Packer fan, baby. Ooh.
Okay, so for our next game, we got the Saints versus Titans. Tennessee's favored by 3, and the line is 44.5. The Titans have been on an impressive winning streak, topping the Bills, Chiefs, and now the Rams. Or Bills, Chiefs, Colts, and now the Rams. Have so far shown that they're just doing fine without their star running back Derrick Henry, but they all will have to go up against the stout Saints defense, and I think it's a good test to see if this Titans offense is really legit without Derrick Henry. But this Titans team is on a burner, but I think they do take this one, but it's gonna be a very close game. Give me the Titans 21-16.
No king, no worries for the Titans. The Titans manhandled the Rams with a suffocating defensive performance, and I believe the same will occur against the Saints. Like, if we're being honest, without Winston, the Saints don't have a legit quarterback on their roster. Trevor Simeon isn't all that, and Taysom Hill can't throw a ball deep. I have a guy at Paint Branch if Sean Payton needs one. His name is we call him Tay. Sean Payton can hit him up. I think he'd be ready to play. But with this quarterback situation, I don't think anything's going to be better for the Saints. And I think the same defense that came out last week for the Titans is going to show up, maybe even better. Kevin Byard he was performing amazing with that pick six and just other defensive play. He might have another interception calling his name. Give me the Titans winning this game 31-17.
It's wild, right? How that looked on Sunday night, and just no one saw that coming. But maybe we should have, because this Tennessee defense is somehow on the rise. I mean, and it's not because of Bud Dupree, the big, off-season pickup that was heralded. He's really done nothing. And in fact, what is he? The most games snaps he's had is 34 in a game. Wow, right? But they're still finding a way, and they're getting it done. And I give Vrabel a lot of credit, but also I think Payton's going to be coaching his butt off in this game because they need this win too. It's going to be interesting. I think the Titans have played with fire these last couple of weeks. Boy, this is a really tough one to call, but I'm going to go crazy. I'm going the Saints, 22-20. I think they're going to find a way to sneak it out. I think Tennessee, they played well, but they're not as good as their record. And they've squeaked out some games. They did lose the Jets too, let's remember. I just think Saints need this one. I think it's going to be a Peyton kind of game, like just a real good coach kind of game. And Vrabel is almost at the Peyton level, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. So I think Peyton just conjures up his power and just finds a way because they need it.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is two good coaches, a newer coach, head coach in Vrabel, and Sean Payton has definitely shown that this year they were playing real well until they lost Jameis, and then they still managed, a big win. And so I think he has been coaching his butt off. And real quick, Mr. Ellis, before we began, you mentioned the great lines that Mike Tomlin has had this year. Some meant to be humorous last week, some meant to be poignant about the USC job and all that kind of stuff. And I think, he's kind of reached that Bill Belichickian approach with the media, where he's not going to give them everything that they want. And he doesn't have to, because he's that guy. And I know he has earned, but he has not been given that respect that you have talked about so much there. But I hope he will, and he has definitely earned it from us. And, that's what these great coaches can do. And Sean Payton definitely is there, but I just don't think he has enough. The Titans are not as good as their record, no doubt, but they have managed to find ways to win, and big wins, and beat teams down. And Adrian Peterson is no Derrick Henry. He went his prime, man. He was a beast, and he was great last year for the football team. And I think he's a pretty serviceable guy to have back there to at least keep the defense honest. And I think I'm buying what the Titans are selling right now because of the way that they have been able to win some football games and put some people away. So for this one, will be interesting to see how the coaches kind of match up in this one. I know the players play the games, but there's definitely some coaching that's going to happen. So I like the Titans to take this one 30-20.
Yeah, I do agree. Coaching is going to be a huge factor in this game. For our next game, we got Detroit versus Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh finds a way to lose this game, I honestly have nothing to say. There's something that's telling me Pittsburgh has a chance to blow this game. It's just not. It's not even the Ravens fan coming out of me. I just feel like they can blow it, but I'm just gonna stick. I'm just gonna stick to my prediction. Pittsburgh's defense will has to feast on this Lions offense because Jared Goff is terrible, and I think the Pittsburgh O will just have no trouble with the Lions D because they're also terrible. But it's Pittsburgh. No, I'm not gonna say anything, but they should have let their guard down because Chicago almost made a comeback on the Monday night game, but Steelers answered back, putting a game-winning with coming back with the game-winning field goal. But I got Pittsburgh winning 24-10, and we're just not going to talk about that egregious taunting call, the worst call I've ever seen in my life ever.
Well, had we lost, it would have been tied with the worst call I've ever seen, which was calling Ray McLeod not down, and then being able to advance that fumble when he was touched after he grabbed it. So we can also talk about that, but we know BSPN ignored it, like they always do when they bet on the wrong team.
Dang, fighting words against ESPN. But I also think
We're not fighting words in honesty, as opposed to a
That's
fake narrative.
that's very true. Well, in my opinion, well, first off, Jared Goff is holding a team back. Who's shocked by that? He did that his whole career against the Rams, and now he's doing it with the Lions. His own coach called him out saying he needs to step it up. If my coach called me out saying I need to step it up, I would try changing something. Jared Goff just keeps dropping dud after dud. I thought this team could come out and win any given week. Like this has been on the wrong side of luck, but they're definitely not. But what the Steelers using, Ben Roethlisberger seems to have found more than 5 yards on the field. Harris proving to be that running back you guys need for the future after missing out on or needing a running back all of last year. And I feel like he's a I guess workhorse running back you need, almost Derrick Henry-esque, like just put everything on him and let him carry your offense. But also on the other side of the ball, Mr. Ellis's favorite big dollar signing seems to be popping up when you need him. TJ Watt every time. I feel like I bet that hurts Mr. Ellis after hating him so much.
Hey, man, it's always been every time in November and every time in October and every time in September. But why don't you go ahead and check and see if late December if we're still back at school? Because all we did was wreck yeah, you'll see.
It's okay. I remember he disappeared against the Washington football team last year too when we came and stunned y'all. But I don't have a stunner this week. I have the Steelers winning this one 31-10.
Wow, you're calling us in a blowout. We're definitely losing, right? No, look, they're going to control the ball early because they have a running back who can run. And we've shown some vulnerability against the run. We played great against Cleveland against the run because we loaded up on it knowing that Faker's no good. He couldn't beat us through the air. So we absolutely were able to get away with loading up on it. But even against Chicago, we weren't able to get away with loading up on it because Fields was such a threat. And if you watch the majority of that game before the ridiculous, fake fumble for a touchdown that kept the game interesting to keep people watching on BSPN, the majority of the game showed that the defense completely, was controlled by Minka Fitzpatrick, who was watching Fields the entire time and all over him. And once that TD happened, we kind of had to change how we played a little bit, and Minka had to shift over, and we had to put Arthur Millette across, and then all of a sudden, it got ugly. And we almost lost, but we didn't lose. So, the thing about almost losing is it's winning, right? And we're 5-3, and we'll find a way to win this game, even though it'll be ugly. 23-16. I think they control the ball early. We're down 10-7 at half. Come back. We win the game 23-16 by just, taking what the D gives us, taking and dunking, and just, depending on 0-8 team to screw it up. And they will. And we'll figure it out when we go to another home game in LA next week. Can't wait for that one. Those Hollywood nights.
In those Hollywood Hills, there'll be some Steeler fans for sure. Yeah, the Steelers, I mean, they're quietly on a 4-game win streak, albeit against some weak competition in general, but you play who you're scheduled to play. And
Was the
wins
Clowns on the road weak competition? That's weak. You
no,
guys have
but
a better win than that one?
no, I'm hoping so this week. But
Yeah, you're hoping, but I'm telling you what we have. I'm reporting the news.
But that's one out of 4. So some of the weak competition, but I stand corrected. Retraction, Mr. Ellis. It's printed. But I give the Jets a lot of grief here, as you know. But the Lions are the truly inept team that the league has. I mean, they are the doormat. And their early season losses that they had in games that they should have won totally killed the vibe. Damn that Justin Tucker. I mean, that killed the vibe in Detroit, which was, there was some positivity there, but I don't know, 0-6, 0-17, nobody wants that record. 0-16 is bad enough, but usually teams find a way to win the game, but it won't be this one. I think that here, the Steelers with that 4-game win streak against some decent competition, see, already printed, has, their line is not great, but Najee Harris is. So as you guys mentioned, lean on the young guy, because the old guy, Ben, broken clock, and he might be right twice in this game, but it's mostly, I think, going to be Najee Harris. And, maybe Ben can make a couple throws that don't cost him, and maybe he can, make a couple throws that he needs to make. But I think they'll have enough here for this one. I don't think it's going to be real close, but they're not going to blow anybody out this year. I don't think so. I'll go Steelers 27-13.
For our next game of the week, we got Las Vegas, the Raiders versus the Chiefs. With the Chiefs being favored by 2.5 and the line being 51.5. Honestly, Pat Mahomes has been proven to be disappointing with this play this season, but he's not the only one to blame. This Kansas City defense has just been absolutely terrible. The Chiefs had to pull out an ugly win against the G-Men and barely won against Green Bay, a team without the reigning MVP under center. Las Vegas, they've lost a lot too, but I think that they're going to give this Kansas City team all they got, because considering what they've been through, I think they wanted a lot this season. And for this game, especially since it's Kansas City in Kansas City, Raiders will take this in a close one, 27-24.
Yeah, as Rashad said, with all the things going on this season for the Raiders, it seems like they're just fighting out these wins, scrapping them out. But the same team that the Chiefs beat last week was the same team the Raiders lost to. They lost to the Giants. So obviously both these teams struggled against the same opponent. And I think with everything going on in KC, they know they're struggling, but they're just going to keep trying to force things to click. And who else is it better to click against than a division rival? I feel like this is a setup for a Patrick Mahomes type performance. Him and Tyreek Hill are going to have a good game. And all the setbacks the Raiders have gone through this season, I feel like it's going to catch up to them in this game. Give me the Chiefs winning this game 31-24.
I don't know what Raiders team we're going to see out here, because you just really don't know. But I'll say this. I think their D-line is better than the Chiefs' D-line. I think their O-line is a little bit better than the Chiefs' O-line. And right now, Carr is playing better than Mahomes, so I'm taking Carr. I got a lot of scores in the low 20s this week. But I got 24-20. Darius.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already said it all. The Raiders, what a season for them. First one in Vegas. I'm wondering, is there a home field advantage in Las Vegas right now? I mean, Oakland, and even when they were down in LA, that used to be a tough place to play. I mean, the black hole, those Raider fans. I mean, I lived with those folks in Oakland, man, and it was passionate fan base. And
I was there in 06. I've been to 8 million tailgates in my life. That was the best one I've ever been to.
Oaktown, baby.
When we lost that game, and Ben got concussed to like 9 INTs to Rod Woodson. Yeah. That was fun. But best tailgate of all time.
So even with that, I don't think I can pick the Raiders in this one, as much as sentimentality makes me want to. I do like the Deshaun Jackson pickup, because he is the ultimate Raider. Because before you guys had a chance to see the Raiders, it was just chuck it deep. pretty much if it's like schoolyard football, okay, we need one guy to run it out and then everybody else go deep. And that's Deshaun Jackson for you. So I don't know what kind of role he's going to play, but I think that it's been tough for the Raiders. And I think that they are going to give him a division game. And I think that their line is real strong. And I think Derek Carr is playing better. But at some point, Mahomes is going to put it back together. That offense is going to click. This could be the week that they put a little bit more of it together. I'm not saying it's going to be all the way back, but I think they might play this game a little bit stronger than they have the last few weeks. And I think the Chiefs will have more than this one. And tight matchup, but I'll go with the Chiefs 27, Raiders 24.
Yeah, you got to feel for this Raiders team. They've been through like a lot this season, lost their head coach, with the Henry Ruggs situation, and now losing their first round draft pick cornerback. Yeah, man, it's tough sledding for this team. But for the next game, we got the Rams versus 49ers. Los Angeles is favored by 3.5, and the line is 48.5. Rams have to be one of the most favorited teams to take home the Lombardi Trophy this year, with the very recent additions of Odell Beckham Jr. being today and Von Miller. I think they can do it all on offense and defense. And I think this 49ers squad will have their hands full against this stacked Rams roster. Give me the Rams 36-28.
I think with these additions to our sort of team, Sean McVay, he came from the Washington football team. We never had a good offense when he was here. So he's going to have some growing pains learning how to actually use having viable options with Odell, Cooper, and then also who else? Like just their offense, like Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers is hopefully he's going to come back sooner or later towards the end of the season. So I know they look like a wounded team after losing to the Titans, but Sean McVay, he's like that genius or that wonder kid coach. Like he's young, he's going to keep improving. These losses are just going to be things that help him improve, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. On the other side of the ball, we have a former Washington football team person as well, Kyle Shanahan, and he's going through a very Washington-esque thing, a quarterback struggle. Both of his quarterbacks aren't playing well. Trey Lance isn't balling out like when he gets the opportunity, and Jimmy Garoppolo is just not playing well. Also, I believe Deebo Samuel's still hurt, so their offense doesn't have much going for them. I'm going to go with the team that has had the momentum and not as much struggle recently. I would give me the Rams in this divisional game. I have this going 27-10.
I don't know, guys. I'm not buying this Rams hype at all. I think the year they went to the Super Bowl, the NFC was garbage. And I just think McVay is overrated. And I think you look at their wins, they're not that impressive. I mean, they barely beat the Lions. They get manhandled by Tennessee on both sides of the ball. And they had no Derrick Henry. Their vaunted defense. Okay, here comes Von Miller, washed up. Here comes Odell Beckham, washed up. Give me a break, man. This is like the Washington football team of the late 90s. Okay, let me buy everybody that has a big name, but we all stink and we're in the end of our careers. I'm not buying this charade or facade. And the Niners need this game. They have the better coach. And I think Shanahan's going through some struggles at the moment, but I think he's the better coach. And I think they will find a way to win this game because they need it. I don't think they're a great team at all, but I think they'll find a way to win this game and they'll get it done. And again, another low-scoring game this week. And again, Stafford, it's starting to get different weather, and even though it's not as cold as he's playing now, it's going to slowly start to seep in. Stafford starts to stink as the season goes on. Look at his stats every year, right? Decline as the season goes on. And it's going to happen here too, just like the Rams record. So got the Niners with the dub.
So glad I didn't witness those false hope years in the 90s, getting Deion Sanders and all those big names just to be bad again.
Well, this is the same thing, only, there was not the media hype that there is now, right? Because they started out hot in those seasons too and then faded. And the Rams are going to do the same thing.
Football is not like other sports, baseball, hockey. I know I joke about hockey. You guys don't follow much, but I know Mr. Ellis does, but I don't think Angad and Rashab, you guys are big hockey guys. But in those sports, there's a Pens, baby. Big game for the Pens tonight too. But in hockey and baseball, late season acquisitions can be the difference between winning a championship and not. And you can pick up older guys who aren't necessarily washed up, but maybe don't have as much to contribute. And over the course of like a long playoff run, it can happen. But I agree with what you're saying about OBJ. Like there's going to be for the Rams, there's going to be, remember what it was like before we had OBJ, and then the clown show that it's going to be with him there in the locker room, in the lineup, in practice in LA. I mean, I just don't see it. I was hoping against all hope that he would not come to New England. And I didn't think he wanted to anyway, but I didn't even want them to make a shot at it because I just don't want to upset what I think is a decent offense that's rounding into form. And the Rams already have those things. So you're going to start pulling the ball from Cooper Kupp, and you're going to start finding catches for OBJ. I mean, Cooper Kupp is leading the league in catches. He's probably the best receiver numerically, numbers wise in the NFL right now. So you start taking stuff away from that, change your offense, and Matthew Stafford's numbers will go down. Now, granted, they went down those years, Mr. Ellis, because he was playing on teams that weren't good, that had nothing to play for. And, I'm not sure that this is going to be the same situation for him because I do think he's on a good football team. And even with those acquisitions, Von Miller also, like you said, washed up. So I don't think he's going to be any sort of dominant player on defense. But he might be able to make a couple plays. He might be able to bring a little leadership, although they already have some great guys on the defensive line, Aaron Donald. And they've got, great corners there as well. And I think for them, the Niners they're not good right now. They're just not good. They got injuries. They struggled last week. The Rams coming off a loss is probably the best thing that's happened to them because you need to get smacked around sometimes to remind yourself, oh yeah, we got to come and we got to play and we got to show up and we got to, try to dominate on both sides of the ball. And division game like this is going to be a good one, but I think the Rams will bring it. I think you're right. I think they're a little overrated because I think when they went to the Super Bowl, they were not that good. I think they were a surprise for everybody as much as they thought McVay was the hot young coach. And he definitely is. He's got a great mind for it. But as Shanahan did too, and he got to a Super Bowl and he couldn't win it either because, again, I don't think they were ready for it. Their teams were not as good as the teams they played. But anyway, that's a lot to say basically. In this one, I got the Rams 28, 49ers 20.
I have a quick little thing to say. I think Jarvis Landry and Odell are in a fantasy league together because Jarvis just posted saying, I'm going to meet you in the Super Bowl. Neither of those teams are making to the Super Bowl, especially not the Browns.
Rams have a way better chance of making it to the Super Bowl. The Browns, I remember AJ said Browns were a Super Bowl contender, and I'm just like,
I don't know. I disagree.
That might be the biggest
I'm going to vehemently disagree. I think the Browns are better. I think at the end of the season, the Browns will be a better team. I do.
Well, and I think I could agree with that because
I can't believe I said Browns. I meant to say Clowns.
I got to agree with that. I got to agree with that because as much as having the Browns come into New England this week is going to be a tough matchup. Because now that they got rid of OBJ, which tells me they're serious. You don't get rid of a guy like that unless you're serious because you feel like you've got players who can do something. They didn't have him last year, and look what they did. So they are a contender for sure. I don't think they're a pretender at all. And they're definitely a team this week that I'm nervous about. I picked the Pats, but at the same time, I could see it. That's a toss-up game. And the Browns, what they did last week in Cincy, that's a little scary to me.
yeah. Considering how Cincy just blew the Ravens out coming into Baltimore, and then the Browns just pulled a reverse card and just blew Cincy out. It's the AFC North is getting
such a long way to go.
There's so long. There's 7 weeks left in the season, and then this stretch, the playoff stretch.
8. We got 8 games left. So,
oh yeah, very true, very true, very true.
17 games.
Oh, no, 8 games actually. 8 games.
Who needs why a 17-game season? No reason whatsoever.
No reason.
Nobody was asking for that game except for owners, probably, right?
Probably.
Hey, we're not gonna miss it though. Everybody here's tuning in, so
yeah, exactly.
Much to my wife's chagrin, it's another week added to the roster. Yeah,
they added another week.
You kidding me? Hey, just in time for the college basketball tournament.
And you know what? The Super Bowl will be in March now if we keep extending things out.
Oh, man.
That's gonna suck.
Well, you heard about the expansion, 18 weeks, 4 new teams. That's what they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. But yeah, that's been it, guys, for PBHS Week 10. It's going to be an exciting week with so many great matchups coming on. And I just believe this is going to be one of the better weeks that we're going to have in the season. And I think we're going to get so many great matchups, and it's going to be an overall great week of football. Signing out, I'm Rashad. We had Mr. Woodward on, guy.
Go Pats.
Go Pats.
Team.
And then Mr. Ellis.
Yeah. That's right.
Go-
Dropping some BOC down there. North Coast Traveler dropping some BOC down there. Dropping some Blowout City down there tonight. So we shall see what happens in Miami.
But anyway, let's roll it.
All right, guys. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and we're out. Peace.